We're back for 5 minutes with Bob Mover. He's going to tell us what are you going to tell us today, Bob?
I'm going to talk a little bit about the little that I knew Bill Evans. I had a couple of experiences that were intense and profound and brief encounters with Bill. Though I would talk to him sometimes, but never at length. But I have a couple of stories I think that are quite interesting about Bill, and I loved Bill. I thought Bill was like a really brilliant and wonderful musician, and I was fascinated by his music. And in 1970, 71, I was in Boston. Jackie Byard, I'd met Jackie in New York, and he brought me up to play a concert at Harvard University with him and Alan Dawson and Buell Neidlinger. And I did this Harvard University concert with Jackie. And then Jackie said, well, why don't you come to the New England Conservatory and just hang out with me? And you come to my classes. And I happened to have a friend living in New England Conservatory, going to New England Conservatory, who had a roommate that was never there. He was on the road. He came in for exams. So my friend said, look, I got an extra bed in the room. I said, that's great because we're in Jordan Hall. The practice rooms are open all night. So I was basically living in New England Conservatory, which is another story of my life. But the main thing is that at this time, a lot of the black cats were upset with the white guys, just for even playing the music. It was some of the cats would make you feel that it wasn't yours. They'd say, look, man, I got nothing against you, but this is our stuff. And like, you got your Mozart, you got your Beethoven, you got your Stravinsky even, but leave our stuff alone. It's not your place to be playing this. And if they didn't say it directly, they sometimes gave you that feeling. Of course, this is not the majority of black people. This was a few. Martin Luther King had been assassinated in 1968. So we're still really dealing with a 1 or 2 year difference from that happening. And that really did change the racial climate of the country and, in jazz. So anyway, I was studying, I thought maybe they're right. So I was studying composition with Joseph Maneri, and learning the Schoenberg harmony method. And I was trying to do a piano reduction of a Mozart Sinfonia Concertante in E flat with violin and viola. And I thought I might want to be a conductor, because if these guys were right and maybe this was my music, then maybe I should be a conductor. I knew I had to be a musician, but maybe I shouldn't be a jazz saxophone player. Maybe I should be a conductor. I don't know. I was torn. So Bill Evans was appearing at the Jazz Workshop, Paul's Mall in Boston. And I just had this idea for two reasons to go meet Bill Evans. For one reason, because he was a white jazz musician who had crossed over into the black community and was playing, I played with Miles and done that. And the other thing was I'd written a couple of tunes, my first compositions, two especially. And I really had Bill in mind on one of them. And the other one was just the tune. I thought he might like it too. So I was wondering, as you have the audacity when you're 18, which you don't have when you're 30, to just go up and ask great people, by the way, could you listen to this thing that I wrote? I can't imagine myself now at 68 even doing that, but I did it. So I went down to Paul's Mall Jazz Workshop, and I caught a set of Bill Evans. And between sets, I grabbed Bill and I said, Mr. Evans, I'd really like to talk to you about something. And he, took me aside and he said, sure, what do you want to talk to me about? He sat down actually with me at my table for a minute. And I said, I have this situation, and I'm a white guy and I'm trying to play this music. And is it black music? Are they right? Here, you play jazz, and can you relate to this story? He said, oh, I've had that many times in my life. And he was really just beautiful, man. He was like an old friend. He was just all of a sudden he was very warm. And he said, oh man, it's and he even chuckled, he even laughed a little bit. He said, oh yeah, that one. He said, yeah, I experienced that. And I read later he had kind of gotten some of that on Miles' band and some other situations, Right. He said, and of course, he said, I've got wonderful black friends. He said, but when I was in school in Louisiana, I thought I became a classical flute major. And I thought I would become a classical flautist like Jean-Pierre Rampal. He said, I was really thinking about that. He said, because of that very reason. He said, I said, maybe they're right. Maybe it isn't my music. And maybe this should be. He said, I was into the classical repertoire too. And I knew I had to be a musician just like you. So what I I said, "What'd you do? And what made you change your mind? What made you decide, finally make the move to become a jazz musician?" And he had this pensive look on his face, and he was silent for 30 seconds or so at least. And then he said, "I think it comes down to, man," he had this New Jersey accent, "man, I think what it comes down to is the need to swing. How much do you need to swing?" He says, "Because classical music will fulfill a lot of things musically. I mean, a lot of your musical desires, but there's just the thing that I guess what probably makes you really be a jazz musician is this need to swing. You have to feel a need for it,
The Need to Swing,
the need to swing." Yeah.
which
And I thought that
would be the title of a good book.
it would be a good book, The Need to Swing.
Need to
One
Swing.
upshot to the story is then I felt a little more confident with him. And I said, "I'll go to the next place." And then he invited me over to his table. He said, "Would you like to sit with my wife, Ruth, and I?" He said, and I sat with him. And he said, no, he didn't do it then. I'm sorry. I said, I'd like you to play these tunes of mine. I brought these tunes. And I just wanted to know if I could give them to you. You don't have to play them in front of me or anything, but if you could take them and maybe, just write me about them. I left my address. You could tell me what you thought of them or this and that. He said, "Oh, better than that." He said, "Tonight, I really can't do it. I'm a little under the weather." He said, "But tomorrow night," he said, "come back. And, I'll make sure you get in. If you don't have the money, you can come as my guest. And you can sit at my table. And after the gig, I'll play your tunes." And so he
Wow.
did.
Huh.
Man, the club cleared out. And at the end of the night, Bill says, "Okay, let's go check your tunes out." So he took my tunes with the sheet music and he sat and he sight read my first two tunes. One was called Solidarity, and the other one was called Glorious Tune, not
Wow.
Glorious Step, but I had a friend named Gloria who was a friend of mine's mother, and I wrote her a tune. And I thought he was really going to like Glorious Step, Solidarity a lot, because that was a little waltz like ba boo dee da boo boo bee ah boo boo bee ah boo. It was like one of those intervallic things, and I thought it was pretty nice. And he said to me, he said, "Well, this one shows some talent." He said, "I can see, you've got a gift." He said, "But this one," and that was called Glorious. He went bo bo be doo doo da boo dee ba da be dee doo doo be dee doo dee doo doo da ba doo da ba
He
doo
liked
dee.
that. He liked that one.
Like that one, which I didn't think he was going to like that much, But he said, "Now this one," he said, "but the thing is that you copped out at this point." He said, "I want to hear more at the end of the bridge." He said, "You kind of made it like a short bridge, and it sounds like you lost your focus there for a second." I said, I really have never been happy with that part of the song." He said, "Yeah." So he said, "You got a good 3/4 of a tune there." He said, "So go back and work on that. The other one is nice too." He said, "But this one has really got something." And
That's an amazing story, Bob. And you've had some amazing encounters with jazz greats. So I'd like to end that story right there if we could. That's a pretty good one. And then we're going to get back together when we have some more time for the story on Chet Baker. Unfortunately, we're out of time for today, I think.
well, I think we've done a lot, and
That's
I
a
said,
great story. And we're going to have another moment with Bob because I want to hear the other story about Chet Baker. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Have a good
"Thank
one.
you, Marshall. Thank
Be
you very
safe
much.
out there.
It was a pleasure."